Good morning. I want to thank you for joining me today. I'm going to share with you some notes that I took away from our weekly coaching call yesterday. We do a coaching call on every Wednesday. I want to begin a simple yet a thought-provoking question. What's holding you back? It's a question we've all asked ourselves at some point. Over my 42 years in this business, I've learned that the answer is rarely about tools, resources, or concepts. Instead, it's often something deeper. Our ability to connect, build trust, and truly understand the people we serve. So yesterday during our call, we had the privilege of hearing from someone that I would actually call him a true legend in our industry, Bob Crosetto. Bob, at 89 years young, Bob is thriving, not just because of his experience, but because of his unwavering focus on the power of the human connection. He started in his business in 1962. It was a year before I was born. Bob shared a remarkable story about how he turned a casual referral into an extraordinary relationship. A friend referred him to this prospect, and his friend, who wasn't even a client themselves, but they trusted Bob enough to connect him with someone that they cared about. So Bob approached this opportunity from the form method, which he does most of the time when he meets with his clients and prospects. And it's a conversational, he used this conversation framework focused on family, occupation, recreation, and money, known as the form method. But using this method, Bob didn't pitch overwhelmed with product knowledge or try to sell. Instead, he asked thoughtful questions, listened deeply, and uncovered what truly mattered most to the prospect. That conversation had lasted 2.5 hours. Here's what came of it: a $1.5 million annuity sale, a survivorship estate planning policy, second to die life insurance policy, protecting the heirs, resulting over $80,000 in annual life insurance premiums. And now Bob is working on an executive bonus program for 8 to 10 employees, projected to generate well over $200,000 in life insurance premiums. But those are amazing numbers, but the real success, it was building the trust, the relationship, and the friendship that has been built now with this prospect. But think about that. Isn't that what our business is truly about? So I want to break down this morning a little bit more deeper about the form method that guided Bob's conversation. But first with Bob started asking about the prospect's family. So questions such as, tell me about your family. What's most important to you? Are there any big milestones coming up for your loved ones? Talking about family creates an instant connection. It shows that you care about what matters most to the other person and makes them feel valued. The next thing he talked about is O, which is occupation. Bob transitioned to asking about the prospect's work. What do you do for a living? What do you most enjoy about your work? These questions revealed the prospect's career's goals, the challenges, and how their occupation influenced their financial decisions. And then, of course, there's recreation. So next he asked about hobbies and passions. What do you enjoy doing in your free time? What's something you've always wanted to try but haven't yet? Recreation is a great way to connect personally and understand what brings joy and fulfillment to someone's life. Lastly, the fourth one is M, which stands for money. Finally, Bob discussed their financial goals. What are the biggest financial goals they have? What's the one thing you'd like to feel more confident about when it comes to your finances? There are many more questions we can certainly go dig into later. But by this point, the prospect felt heard and Bob trusted Bob, making it easier to have a meaningful conversation about planning. So Bob's story highlights some key principles we can all use to grow our business and deepen our relationships. Number one is Bob reminded us that listening is more important than talking. Asking questions is just the start. It's about truly hearing the answers and understanding the emotions and the values behind them. Listening is transformative. It makes people feel understood. Bob, he didn't spend 2.5 hours proving how much he knew. He spent it showing how much he cared. Empathy builds trust. Trust opens doors, and expertise alone could never do. As Bob says, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. But and then the third thing to take away here is to focus on your strengths. One of Bob's most memorable pieces of advice that I wrote down was to focus on your strength. Use tools like Strength Finder to identify what you do best. Lean into those skills. Don't waste your time trying to fix every weakness. Instead, invest in what makes you feel exceptional. And lastly, the fourth thing to take away is Bob emphasized the importance of putting your ego aside, acknowledging the team supporting you. Success, it's not a solo journey, it's a collaborative effort. Edifying your team strengthens relationships both internally and externally. So let's take a moment, let's make this personal. What would happen if you approached your next prospect the way Bob approached his? Imagine sitting down with someone not to sell, but to connect. Imagine setting aside your agenda and taking the time to understand what is truly matters to them. So here are three practical steps you can take this week. Identify one prospect or client and set up a meeting with absolutely no agenda other than just to listen. Use open questions like, what's most important to you right now? What's the one challenge you wish you could solve? What does success look like for you? But during that conversation, resist the urge. Don't interrupt it or steer the discussion. Focus and listen deeply and reflecting back to what you hear. And also the next thing would be to take 15 minutes this week, write down your top three strengths. If you're unsure, or ask a trusted colleague or use a strength finder. Then think about how you can leverage these strengths in your next client interaction. And lastly, reach out to someone on your team, a mentor, assistant, a colleague, and thank them for their contributions. A simple message of appreciation can strengthen your relationship and remind you of the collaborative effort behind your success. So as I reflect on Bob's story, I'm reminded something my dad used to say. He stated in the business in 1950, he stated back in 1958. Back then, years ago, when he told me this, he told me that sales is 97% understanding people and 10% product knowledge. But now, as you know, as we've gone in technology, different concepts, ideas, all these different things, it's really, I believe now it's more like 90% understanding people and 10% product knowledge. But decades later, that wisdom, it still holds true. Tools and strategies, they may evolve, but the power of a human connection will always remain the foundation of success. But Bob didn't just build his business with that prospect, he built a friendship. And isn't that what makes this business so special? The opportunity to making a meaningful difference is someone's life while building a relationship that lasts. So as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with this challenge. Commit to one action this week that strengthens your connections. Take the time to listen deeply to someone. Reflect on your strengths and how you can use them more effectively. And reach out to someone in your network, not to sell, but to show that you care. The success you're looking for isn't in the next product or concept. It's in the relationships that you build and trust you earn. So let's take Bob's example to heart. Let's make human connection the cornerstone of our practices. Thank you for your time today. I can't wait to hear how you apply these lessons and see the impact it has on your business. As Bob, his last statement was, feed your strengths and starve your weaknesses. Focus on what makes you exceptional and let that guide your connections, your business, and your life. Have an amazing day.